Hello, one and all. Jasper here, joined once again by DJ Fella to tackle the next episode in House of the Dragon, or as I like to call it, Hot D.
I am excited to talk about this episode. This was a good one.
I agree. It was easily, it easily surpassed the first episode, which I, to this day, have a lot of issues with. Some people strongly disagree with me on said issues, but I won't think too much on that. I'll probably make another video for that later. But in regards to this episode, I want to say it was much better. Also, much more book accurate. I won't be able to make a video on it unless I really wanted to nitpick or repeat myself from other things. So that I think is a strong correlation to why this episode was much better than the previous one.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have any point of reference for the book stuff, but I think just in general they did a much better job with the characters. They did a pretty good job. And because it was such a character-driven episode, there wasn't as much room for the plot to come in and screw everything up. So I think it really shows the show's strength, which is the characters and the actors, and they put on great performances. And when that's what's happening, I can easily love it. But a lot of times, once the plot starts going, it begins to lose me.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that the show would be better if the actors were writing it instead of what we got. But and there's actually a little story. I don't know how true it is, but we'll talk about it when we get to a particular scene. But anyways, the episode opens up very soon after the aftermath of Blood and Cheese. You have the guards rounding up everyone in the castle of the Red Keep, trying to find those who are guilty of committing this crime, Blood and Cheese. Perfectly good opening. We are jumping right back into things. Obviously, there's not a big jump or time difference. And we then see Aegon in his rage smashing up Viserys' little Warhammer figurine set. And fuck, this is the emotion I would want from a parent when he hears about the death of when they hear about the death of their children. This is beautiful.
For sure, for sure. Although I will say during the scene, I do like cringe internally at the loss of what would be such a cool historical item
Right?
for the universe.
Like, Aegon, you don't realize this, but in like 1,000 years, that'll be worth so much money. It'll be in a museum.
Yeah, like that's priceless one day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he does a fantastic job of showing that rage, and makes up for the mother's autistic lack of emotion.
Yeah, I know I was like particularly harsh with the last episode in regards to her lack of emotion, and I made some insensitive, exaggerations of it. But I still stand firm. I don't think it was a good choice by any stretch of the imagination. I think even those who have autism would they like I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like that just feels not human to me, if that makes sense.
I could see what you're saying. I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. But then again, I've always been a very emotional person in general, so maybe it's just that disconnect that I have. I know a lot of people love it. Good on them. I would have preferred more emotion. But enough about the previous episode. Now we have Aemond showing up, and he seems to deduce by seeing the big ass open door and the missing coins that the assassins were originally going after him.
Which seems like a little bit of a jump, because we're not. I mean, I guess at this point, this confirms that this is his room, but were 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 Cheese and Blood even trying to get here? Did they know where they were going? I thought they were just kind of popped out here.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. In the first episode, Blood almost kills Cheese because Cheese is like, I'm not allowed up there. I only like take care of traps down below. And they just accidentally come across Aemond. That was like Aemond's room or office or whatever. That's kind of how I assumed. So, I mean, it's a bit of a jump, but it's not an unreasonable jump, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, even without much evidence, I could. It seems reasonable for Eamon to assume they were after him. He is currently the biggest threat, and he is the one who killed Luke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, the next scene we get is Alicent showing some emotion, and Otto, I feel like, trying to help her in his own stern, tough, not even tough love, but just tough way. Like, kind of just saying, like, hey, this is sad, but we got to keep moving and pressing forward.
Yeah, Otto in this episode falls somewhere between, for me, being an effective rock for others to anchor themselves off of. I mean, that's ideally how others would react to it, and being like a complete sociopath who just sees everything's as like a way to curry favor.
Mm-hmm.
Like he like I don't necessarily know which side of the spectrum they were trying to get him to fall on, but like at different times he seems to kind of waver between those two.
I lean a bit more towards The Rock, and and I can't remember if it's this particular scene, but it's because of the scene where he does show emotion and he lashes out and says, "That was my grandson who died as well." And like, I think that alone, I don't feel like, I obviously it was acting, but I think Otto, the character at that moment, wasn't acting. I think he's hurt by it as well, and right now he's just like a very pragmatic person. Like, mourning isn't going to help make sure the rest of us make out. We have to be quick about this. We have to take advantage of what we have.
Yeah, I think that could be the situation, but also I reserve some skepticism.
I think that's fair, especially considering Otto has been known to do a little bit of fibbing here and there.
Yeah, I could easily see him just being almost completely unemotionally involved in like anyone but his own life.
All right. But then we get a small council meeting, and we again get to see Aegon just raging and screaming. And again, fantastic work by the actor. Like, I didn't think, like, I don't know how much credit I can give to the writers at this point, but I did not think that I would be enjoying Aegon as much as I have this season, even though we're only two episodes in. I'll admit, it's wonderful to have him. He feels like one of the most human characters, despite all that fuckery previously.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. He human is probably the best way to describe him. He is certainly not like a perfect king or anything like that, but damn, does he get all the emotions and the the insecurities of the character. He plays it all so well.
I am going to make a bold, bold claim that Aegon will be my Viserys for this season. Now, because as many issues as I have with the first season, I almost have none for Viserys himself, his character and his actions. To me, he is the closest thing that the first season had to a perfect character. I think Aegon, if we ignore the previous season, I think he's probably going to be the best standout character here.
I could see it happening. The
Uh,
series it's a tough bar to meet, but I could see it happening.
yeah, I'm not saying he's going to be like, I know I just said he's going to be my Viserys, but I don't know if he's going to match or eclipse Viserys, but I think he's going to be the next best thing from this season.
Yeah. And so he accuses Cole. He questions Cole. He says, "Where the hell were you?" And Cole lies and says he went to sleep.
Hey, he just said a bed. He was in his bed. Well,
But
that's also a lie because I think it was Allison's bed he was in.
Yeah, he was in Allison's bed, and he says he ordered the Night's Watch, the only member of the Night's Watch we learn about in this episode where they were is Eric was with Aegon.
Yeah.
Where was the rest of the Night's Watch?
Well, the Kingsguard, even though he says Night's
Oh,
Watch.
He does. Oh, the Night's Watch, the Kingsguard. I guess. Okay, understandable.
But
I goofed it.
It's hard to say. I don't know if he's specifically talking about like the King's Guard. I know he goes later.
Or just any guards.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There were no guards in that episode.
There were no guards in that episode.
None whatsoever. The only ones we see are with Aegon in the throne room, and they're just standing next to pillars. There's like no security in this very turbulent time.
Yeah.
So I think either that's incompetency from the writers, which is always my justification, or Cole is again lying through his fucking teeth.
Right. So what I'm wondering is the implication supposed to be that Cole was the one who was supposed to be standing? I mean, only having one person guarding out there is insanity either way. Mm-hmm. But is the implication that Cole was the one that was supposed to be guarding, or maybe Cole was supposed to be guarding, but he sent the other guards away so they wouldn't see him going with Alicent? I guess I could see that being an explanation.
Maybe one way or another. For the most part, if I remember correctly in the books, once Cole and Rhaenyra have their breaking off, we don't know what it is in the books, but whatever it is, they just, Cole especially, I think, like really starts to despise her. He pretty much stays by Queen Alicent's side as kind of her protector. So it's not unreasonable that Aegon, and Aegon's in a wrathful state right now. I don't think he's thinking as clearly as he should.
For sure.
But I think he's more so lashing at Kristen because Kristen is the Kingsguard, the
Lord
commander. Yeah, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. So it's one of those things where the first rule about being in charge, everything's your fault.
Yeah, right, Aegon doesn't necessarily know what he's accusing Cole of, but Cole is guilty here. Like, Cole for sure fucked something up.
Yeah. Something ain't sitting right.
Yeah, either he was supposed to be actively defending someone, or he sure as hell should have had somebody defending them.
Yeah. So then Larry's approaches the small council and says that they found blood. And Blood apparently was trying to get out of King's Landing and was caught at the gates with the child's head.
Which, I know Blood's not the brightest character, but carrying the head? Really?
He needed proof.
I mean, wouldn't the fact that... I mean, it's going to get out that the kid's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know that you need to prove it.
Probably don't. The smart thing to do would probably to have ditched the head or hid the head or something and have pursued his duties as a gold cloak. Maybe wait till he gets a job to patrol the walls or the docks and then get on a ship and get the fuck out. But you're right. Blood ain't exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Yeah. I don't consider this a plot hole or anything. I think this is well within Blood's character.
And then Aegon is ready to just execute the guy right away, but everyone talks him out of it that we need to, talk to him. We need to question him.
Which, to be fair, Aegon was right. Yeah, Rhaenyra basically did it.
Rhaenyra adjacent.
I hold Rhaenyra very guilty.
Well, that's an I'm not the biggest fan of Rhaenyra by any means, but at least in the continuity of the show, I don't blame her for this. This was all pretty much Daemon's actions.
Well, Daemon was acting directly on her. I want Aegon.
You're right.
Or Aemond.
And this is going on the level of once you're in charge, everything's your fault.
Right. It's like if you quote unquote give orders by making vague statements of things you want, then when shit goes sideways, maybe you shouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah. I think I'm a little more forgiving if she had a bit more hands on, or if she signed off on Blood and Cheese. I'd be more judgmental of her. But you are right. Her kind of inaction because of the mourning of her son didn't help things. Had she had a bit more, if she kind of bottled up her emotions and had a bit more control, gave commands, her thoughts and ideas on things, maybe it would have gone differently. At the same time, maybe Damon should have gone to her and say, "Hey, here's my plan."
Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe, but she seemed emotionally distant. Damon's kind of just a get shit done sort of guy.
Most definitely. Though I would personally put most of the blame on Damon rather than Rhaenyra.
One, yeah, which we can probably talk about this more later, but it depends a lot for me on what he said after they asked if they couldn't find Aemond. Whatever happened in that like section, that decides what level of guilt Daemon has in my eyes.
That's pretty fair. I I'm kind of we'll get to that when we get to that. But continuing on with the small council meeting, Otto starts bringing up the idea of how they can use this against Rhaenyra by presenting the body of the child with Alicent and Helena behind in dark garb mourning, just to kind of like show the sad atrocity of what just took place.
Just another example of Otto just constantly being on his A game.
I mean, the guy is a smart motherfucker. Let nobody deny that, not even his enemies.
Yeah, because that is a crazy thing to suggest. To be like, let's parade this child's dead body in front of all the people, but it is pretty smart to be like, this is the pretender to the throne, going around chopping babies' heads off.
Mm-hmm. And it would definitely help in the long run, I would say. Like, I mean, even though right now the strong military power and decision on this are the dragons, you can never forget or underestimate the small folk or the armies.
Right, like people gotta feed the dragons. They gotta get those sheep.
Um, Now, the small council meeting, I think, was overall quite nice. You know, I remember a lot of people were critical on the first season having too many small council meetings. I don't know. I thought it was fine.
I think there was one episode that went a little bit crazy.
Mhm.
I think there's one episode that was like literally every other scene was a small council meeting. But I don't remember for sure.
But now, the next scene, we get Alicent approaching Helena in regards to what the plan is. Now, it's nice to see Helena mourning here, even if I can't relate to a lot of the lack of emotion or how she presents herself in these situations. It's good to see that she is very sad about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in this episode we really get a feel for her character and how her character is coping with everything that's happening. Whereas in the last episode it was so short that it was just kind of a little bit weird. In this episode it's more you see how awkward and uncomfortable she is in all the situations she gets put into.
Yeah, maybe a part of me wonders if we had more scenes like this in the first season, if I would have been less judgmental on how Blood and Cheese was handled. I think I would still prefer the book version, but at the very least, probably would have been presented because I always knew she was a bit quirky. I just think that was a bit too quirky. But then
She definitely could have handled it better, I think, for sure.
I mean, I feel like no matter what she did, bad things were going to happen. But still, even if you know the wall isn't going to be broken, yeah, headbutt it a few times. You never know. Maybe you'll get lucky.
Yeah.
Though then we get the funeral progression, where they ride off and they have the poor dead prince for everyone to see. Though I wonder how many people can actually see it, because that's a pretty tall carriage.
Well, there's they go under like bridges and stuff.
Hmm. But the people on the side, nah, they don't see shit.
Yeah, they don't get to see it.
Hmm. And now it's jumping kind of back and forth between the talking,
Procession
the
and
procession, and the negotiations with blood.
yeah, I was gonna call it torture, but that wouldn't really be appropriate.
uh, so instead of going back and forth between the two, I think it'll be better if we kind of just stick to one and then talk about the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the easier one to talk about is the torture scene, or lack thereof of torture, because Larry's just walks in there, opens his bag, and blood is spilling all the beans.
Yeah, tell them everything.
Which, not
Which, yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Not surprising.
at all. I would probably do the exact same damn thing.
Well, yeah, and it's like there's not really anything for him to hide. They already know that the blacks are behind it,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And even if they don't know that, that's who they're gonna blame.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess he does sell out cheese, kind of, but like, fuck cheese. Who cares?
Yeah, who gives a shit about cheese? He was a dick.
Yeah, I would have sold. He kicks dogs. I would have sold him out.
uh, and I was very curious how they were going to take this. I was expecting a little bit of a Ramsay Snow and Theon Greyjoy situation. Like, I thought that we were going to get a lot up from blood as far as what he was going to be put through. But, obviously, we don't really get that much because Larry just says, I promise not to hurt you, but I can't speak for the king. And then Aegon walks in, and I'm like, yes, I love this. This is great.
Yeah,
Though,
he maces him.
yeah, he doesn't really do that much torture. I'm assuming he treats, like, he beats the guy much like he destroyed the modeled city, but
Yeah, I'm assuming he just kind of
goes to town.
smashes him to a pulp.
Yeah, but I think that's it. So now we can talk a bit more on the progression. And it's very, I mean, obviously just sad for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, the child who died, but for Alicent and Helena kind of being forced to be a part of this.
Yeah, well, especially Helena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely like not comfortable with this situation. I think it's safe to say that when it comes to like her possible autism, she's very introverted. Like, she does not like to be around large groups of people, and having everyone kind of having their attention on her. Like, even if they're trying to kind of be positive, it's just not a good thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
I will say
I
though,
will
go ahead.
continue.
Ladies first, you go ahead.
All right, all right. I was just gonna say the scenes where it gives like a close up on her face as she's looking up at the people like throwing petals or whatever those things are. There's something about like the contrast of the black veil, like hug tightly to like her light skin and hair, that it's just such a cool looking shot. I love it.
Yeah, it's quite artistic. I will say though, when the cart gets stuck, I find it very odd that like, and then everyone like starts approaching the cart and kind of reaching up towards them. Like, shouldn't there be someone there kind of to keep everyone away? The prince was just assassinated. You gotta have a bit more security, right?
Yeah, I would expect more security because I think the justification would be that the guards all run up to help push the coffin, which as the coffin was shaking, I thought for sure
Sure.
they were about to dump the prince's body into the crowd.
Oh fuck. I think that came to my mind as well, but I'm like, nah, no, they wouldn't do that, and thank God they didn't. But we actually don't get to see the whole progression. It
Yeah.
then cuts to Rhaenyra at Dragonstone hearing about what took place, and she's horrified about what happened, incredibly
Mhm.
disturbed, and even more so. But I think she's more so disturbed that people think it's her, And it's like, yeah, bitch, why wouldn't they? Why are you acting all surprised?
Yeah, and also it was you.
Kind of.
You called for the death of one of the, you know,
You
one of the
want
princes, even if they didn't get the prince you wanted.
was the wrong prince.
What
but
yeah.
but it's such a disconnect. Did she forget that she like willingly spread rumors that she was responsible for Leonor's quote unquote death? Like, you should not be so. Do you know who your husband is? You should not be surprised that people are pointing the finger at you.
Is that the rumor they spread was that she was responsible?
I feel like I remember, like, maybe they themselves didn't spread it, but she did comment on it, saying, like, people will say that I did it. Like, she was well aware
That's true.
that she would get blamed for it. And, like, that's season 1 stuff. We don't need to talk about it. This is a good episode. I'm trying to be positive.
No, we do need to talk about season 1 stuff. It is relevant to the show.
Fair.
Unfortunately, this isn't a standalone episode. There's a whole season.
But anyway, so they kind of go back and forth. She says, send word, send that I deny these vile accusations. And it's kind of interesting that not even, like, members on her council seem to believe her fully.
Well, again, these people all heard her order for them to kill Aemond. Like, so, I don't get how there's any plausible deniability. She basically ordered the attempted assassination almost directly. The fact that the assassination went sideways and they killed someone else, like that, you can pass that blame down to Blood and Cheese or whatever, or Daemon, depending on what he said. But she is responsible.
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
To a certain point. But I'd also like to comment, Daemon has the worst poker face I have ever seen in my goddamn life.
Yeah, he does look guilty. He's a guilty looking guy.
Which I'm surprised, kind of, because he's done some vile things, but even he was just like, oh, fuck.
I don't know. I don't think Daemon really... I think he's still a little bit like, yeah, it worked. If we killed one of the princes.
I don't know. Because I understand that to a certain point, all the Greens have to die because that's just how the politics are in this situation. You let them live, there's a good chance the next generation will have another war. But I still think preemptively killing them is massively dickish because it doesn't greatly help the war effort in any way. So I do think Daemon kind of sees this as an overall very bad situation, which is why I don't know.
I mean, I think Daemon acknowledges the bad optics of it. I think that's probably the amount that he cares. It's like, oh, this looks kind of bad.
Yeah. But eventually Rhaenyra just glances over at Daemon and just immediately puts 2 and 2 together and like, you motherfucker, you did it.
Yeah, that realization, she acts that out really well. The slight lean forward towards him. Oh. The way Daemon, oh yeah, his poker face is terrible. And then just hard cut to her being like, you fucking did it, you dumbass.
And he tries to defend himself. He says, I sent the Queen's vengeance and I specifically said, kill Aemond. And she keeps hammering in, and what if they couldn't find Aemond? So now this is where he outright refuses, and we discussed this a little bit at the first. He outright refuses that he told them to kill the children. I remember, you and I, we kind of had this bit back and forth. Now,
yes.
Do you believe Daemon?
No. So, last episode, after I saw that scene, my thought was that Daemon basically was like, you're going to get Aemon. That's your only option. Failure's not an option. That was the impression I got. After having watched this episode, he for sure said, if you can't find Aemon, a son for a son.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And one of the reasons why I always thought Aemon did say, can't find Aemon a son for a son, any son will do. Because Blood and Cheese seemed pretty confident that, yeah, this will work.
Yeah, I guess I chalked all that up to Blood and Cheese being really dumb. So I'm sorry, Blood and Cheese, you guys aren't as dumb as I thought. Although Blood is now actually stupider than I thought after realizing he was running around with a baby's head.
A toddler, please. He's not a monster.
Yeah, a toddler's head. He's just jaunting around the castle with it.
Anyway, so they have their little bit back and forth. He said no, and I was pretty much quoting Rhaenyra while I was watching this. I don't believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, but he does double down. He says it was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Daemon? I take it all back. Daemon's such a believable guy. I don't think he did
it. Now, though, there is like another kind of point to this. She starts getting into the topic of she cannot trust him, which, fair enough. But one of the things she brought up was how Daemon took action while she was indisposed. And I'm on Daemon's side in this case. You're in a very dangerous situation. You have to act with, granted, there are some times when you need to wait, there are some times you need to act, but action is what you guys need to take, at least in sending notices, trying to get support, something. You can't wallow on the death of your kid forever.
Mm-hmm.
As cold as that is. If you continue to wallow, then more people are going to die.
Yeah. And also, this scene is pretty stupid on Rhaenyra's. I mean, I think Rhaenyra's been showing herself to be a pretty incompetent queen this season. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, Daemon's not trustworthy. Yeah, you shouldn't trust Daemon. But also, you shouldn't tell him that to his face.
With no guards.
Crazy. This guy is one of your, main dragon riders. And also, he's dangerous as hell. And also, he potentially has somewhat of a claim to the throne.
And he's already killed one wife.
Yeah, you got to play the game with Daemon. Daemon's not a guy you talk straight with.
Yeah, I thought Daemon was about to, beat the shit out of her, though, when he, smacked all the shit off the table and started to approach her. At the very least, choke her like he did in the first season.
Yeah, I thought he was going for a smooch.
Mm-hmm. God damn it. Do you mean a pal right in the kisser?
No, I mean like an actual smooch. I thought he was gonna try and kiss his way out of it. Kind of like what Cole does later in the episode.
Dude,
I thought that's what he was gonna do.
That did not happen. I refuse to acknowledge that scene.
Well, so the issue with the Cole Alicent romance is now it has become plot necessary because that's why Cole wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing, and that's why Blood and Cheese got the kid.
I mean,
so now it's I guess now I kind of see why they made them in a relationship, because it does, I guess, give them a reason to have Cole not doing what he was supposed to be doing. I still think it's a stupid relationship, and I think it damages Cole's character even more than season 1 had already damaged him. It certainly damages Alicent's character.
I mean, yeah, I was pretty forgiving in a lot of situations for Cole and Alicent, but both of them have been, as much as Aegon has been progressing as a character I enjoy, Alicent and Cole have both been degressing. I didn't love them in the first season, but I didn't hate them. Alicent I understood and related to Cole probably a bit more than Alicent, because Cole was kind of still somewhat taking action, whereas Alicent felt like a passenger in this entire ordeal. But now both of them are just kind of nosediving for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough for them. There's gotta have been ways to progress the plot without doing so much damage to their characters.
Crazy idea. Throw in some guards for Blood to kill.
That would have solved it. That would have solved the problem pretty straightforwardly.
But maybe I don't know. Some people think the writers want us to really hate Cole, which I don't know. I'd have to speak with the writers on this, but Anyways, overall, though, going back to the scene with Damon and Rhaenyra, I think this is a wonderful scene. Like, they get into all sorts of things. They talk about the Viserys, how he scorned Damon to pick her, and there's just this really beautiful back and forth as they argue and yell at each other.
Uh-huh. And like I was saying earlier, Rhaenyra is, in my opinion, being stupid in this scene, but I think it fits her character at this point really well. I think she's acting out the way the character would act
Yeah, there's a
perfectly.
difference between a character stupidly acting out a character and a character just acting stupidly.
Right. Right. Like when I call Allison a dumb bitch, it's because I think that the writers are bungling her character. But when I call Rhaenyra a dumb bitch here, it's because I think Rhaenyra is genuinely a dumb bitch. And that's good for her.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's the difference between, Tywin doing something stupid and Cersei doing something stupid. You expect Cersei to do stupid.
Yeah.
All right. But the scene sort of continues on, but the characters change a little bit as Daemon's daughter shows up and has a little bit of a back and forth with Rhaenyra. I mean, nothing crazy. She just asks her to go patrol the blockade. Um,
And real quick, where is Harrenhal?
Harrenhal is in the center of the Riverlands. And where's the Riverlands? Yeah.
I know where the Riverland is. I've got that one.
Yeah. So, like, the Riverlands, like, King's Landing is in the center of the Crown Lands. Riverlands is just north of the Crown Lands. Dragonstone is off to the east of King's Landing.
Right. And because last episode, the Greens were talking about needing to get the Riverlands on their side. So I guess they're one of the quote unquote uncontacted lands at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Riverlands is always important in war because it's usually the battleground.
It's very central.
Yeah, when shit hits the fan, like I can't remember, the saying. I think it was from those histories and lores videos that HBO did. But Brynden Tully said, "When the realm pisses, the Riverlands just change their clothes," or something along those lines.
And is Dorne a thing? Is Dorne a thing right now?
So Dorne is a thing. I mean, it exists, but it's not a part of the Seven Kingdoms. It's actually independent at this moment.
That's what I thought.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. I think that, hold on. I let me not say that, because even if I say one way or the other, that's technically a spoiler. So we'll save Dorne for if they ever come up. Who knows?
Understandable. So yeah, then the daughter comes to talk to Rhaenyra. She has a heartwarming interaction with Daemon on her way in.
Such a lovely dad. I'm surprised he was like very. I understand he was a bit moody, but this is the daughter with a dragon. He's supposed to like be a bit nicer to her. Like she actually has a dragon. There's a reason to love her, not like that useless one.
Yeah. And her dragon would be about the same size as the sun, right?
Yeah, Shace.
Jace. That's what I thought, but I wasn't confident enough to say it.
Yeah, I feel like
I
feel like those two are like at the minimum where you can really expect their dragons to be effective in a war situation. I think Lucerys was a bit too young for that.
Yeah.
So pretty much anyone younger than them is probably not going to be super important in the coming battle.
Makes sense.
Yeah. We get to see Daemon just kind of flying off, looking cool in his Dragon Age armor and whatnot.
Dragon Age armor?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had that exact set.
It does kind of look like Dragon Age armor now that you mention it.
I mean, to be fair, I could have said Skyrim and that would have worked just as well.
It looks maybe a little bit like Elven armor from Skyrim, I feel like. It's got some of those vibes, although less green.
To be fair, what are the Targaryens if not just rounded ear elves who fuck their sisters?
Elves don't fuck their sisters?
You know
I've
what?
been watching the wrong anime.
Anyways, it's kind of just a cool scene. It's to show that he flies off. But the next scene, this one is actually where I'm going to have a lot more to talk about. But we see Helena walking up the stairs, and then we see Aegon walking down the stairs. Of course, they see each other. They stop. There's a moment of silence, but Aegon just keeps on walking.
You have a lot to say about that?
So, two reasons. Now, this is more so a rumor rather than actual fact that I've heard. I can't confirm it one way or the other. I saw it on Reddit, so I think it's likely it's true. But apparently, the actors had to like fight to have more scenes with each other.
Really?
Yeah, like this scene, I don't think it was originally like in the script. I think the actors like kind of swung their dicks and tits around a bit, their weight, to get this to happen. And it's not even that big of a scene, but it's just like we need these. We need to see, like, especially at this moment, some moments with Aegon and Helena. I get there's a lot of characters and there's only so much time, but like these scenes are what's important. It's one of the biggest weaknesses of the first season, how we don't see Viserys interact with any of his other children to a great extent. It's like those are important, and you give us shit instead.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because I would say that so far from what we've got, I would like to have seen them interact a lot more. Because the only example of them interacting from before the kid's death was that like scene where Aegon's looking for him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess Helena's kind of a tough character to write interactions with because they're always just going to be kind of awkward. But you would think Aegon would have some sort of relationship or understanding with her.
Yeah, and at least in the books, it wasn't a perfect marriage by any means, but it's noted that, after this death, their relationship kind of really strains between Aegon and Helena to a point where they now would only sleep in separate bedchambers, which implies that beforehand, they would share a room. They would sleep together.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you just never get that. It just feels like a really messed up situation from beginning to end. So it's like, this isn't a big change. If we had a nicer Aegon in the first season and some more scenes between the two of them, like not lovey-dovey by any means, but, somewhat affectionate or professionally affectionate or something, then I think something like this would hit harder.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I guess better late than never.
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to realize, like, as we're going through this, a lot of any issues I really have with this episode is more so because it's good stuff, but it could have been better if they didn't fuck it up beforehand.
Yeah, that's the problem with it being a TV show. You can't look at it as one episode.
Anyways, the next scene we have Kristen Cole just watching the servants clean up the room.
Not just watching, getting square ass in the way of.
Right? Standing right in the middle of the doorway. Jerk.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a job here, bud.
Mm-hmm. And it also kind of cuts over to Rhaenyra spending time with her kids. I think it's supposed to be kind of a double thing where she's with her kids because she lost her son, but also because of the news of Helena's son's death. So now she's all like, you never know when this shit could happen. I need to spend more time with my kids.
Yeah, maybe so. Or I would like to think that she was already spending time with her kids, and this is just a thematic parallel they're drawing between the dead kids and the live kids.
Possibly. Though I don't know. Personally speaking, like, whenever I have, like, a brush of death, or, like, I'm scared of something, or I see something on the news, I'll sometimes, like, call my, like, anyone who's nearby, like, hey, let's hang out. I feel sad.
Yeah, that's true.
And now, going on, she stares at a window.
She is staring at this window for a long time.
Right? Like this, thank God we don't have more scenes of Helena and Aegon. This is the shit we really need.
Yeah, we need to spend more time on windows.
Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, I think this next bit is a bit more thematical, because I don't think it adds a whole lot, because I think this is... Oh, right. No, I forgot. I was going to say this next scene is just Alicent getting into the bathtub, but she does go and approaches Kristen.
She does. And this is where I start to think like Cole was supposed to be doing something. He wasn't just supposed to be a bed.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, I kind of like Cole's response. Like, she walks up and asks, "Have you told anyone?" And he looks at her like, "Do you think I'm an idiot?" Because,
Yeah, I do think you're an idiot, Cole, but that's neither here nor
I
there.
mean, true, but that is to a level of stupidity even I would be critical of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have a little bit of a back and forth, and she closes the door, walks off, seems to be very sad about things that have gone on, and it kind of jumps back between her and Cole. She gets in the tub to scrub a lub a dub. I thought
Hard.
I thought in this instance Cole was actually going to enter.
I kind of did as well, but
I'm very
but not
glad.
yet.
Yeah, I'm very glad he didn't. But anyways, the next scene. Mm, mm,
Oh,
uh,
I did at the end of this Alicent scene. I did think she was about to kill herself when she went underwater. I was like, "Oh, did she just die here?"
no,
And then Cole's also on supposed to be guarding her, and she dies. I thought that's what was happening, but no.
dude, just framing Cole for her own death or the competence. Ah.
Yeah,
Now, the next scene, we have Kristen Cole approaching Eric or Eric. I again do not know the fucking names. Fuck you, George, for giving.
it's Eric with an A.
It's Eric with an A. Okay, but fuck you, George. Give them different names, you asshole. Anyways, so he's kind of goes over and starts being a dick, and I felt like this is him projecting his faults
For sure.
onto Eric, and
That's how I felt as well. Although by the end of the scene, I'm not sure.
yeah, like, and it's I like the scene. I don't love it. I got some issues. I feel like the way Cole is acting is off, if that makes sense.
Like he's being too much of a dick.
I don't know. It's the weird thing where I don't like what they've done with Cole, but I can't say it's out of character for him. So I don't.
Yeah.
But the thing
yeah,
is, this isn't a moment where I love hating Cole. I just hate Cole.
For sure, he's just really unlikable.
Yeah, and it's like he's fucking talking shit to Eric for protecting the king. That's his fucking job. You probably told him to do that. Like, I think...
And the king didn't die. The king's alive. So what are you scolding him for?
Yeah, so, I mean, it definitely comes off as Cole abusing his power. And because Eric shoots right back, "Where were you, Lord Commander?"
Yeah. Which is another one of those things where I'm like, Cole wasn't supposed to be fucking. He was supposed to be standing guard.
Yeah, and as Eric is kind of getting the better of him, Cole just shouts out, "Your brother's a traitor." I mean, this is entirely a situation where Cole is abusing the fact that he's his superior. And he can, like, order his execution, mess up his life, all sorts of things.
For sure. For sure. And then Cole begins to hatch a plan because he played too much Among Us.
So, what are your thoughts on this plan?
I have similar thoughts to Otto. This is a preposterous plan that was destined to go wrong from the start. I mean, I think Eric's right. Like Cole, I don't know if Cole thinks this, but Cole is sending him to his death, and I think Cole probably knows it to an extent. Cole is like, yeah, he dies, and I don't have to worry about him being a traitor. Or I honestly, I don't even know what Cole's thinking now that I think about it, because I don't think Cole's that worried about him being a traitor. I think Cole's just being a dick.
I think Cole's like trying to fix things in a weird way, and more so he's motivated by his hatred for Rhaenyra.
Do you think Cole thinks that this plan has any chance of working?
I'll be honest, it doesn't strike me as the worst plan someone could come up with.
It strikes me as a pretty terrible plan.
I mean, it's no worse than Blood and Cheese, I feel.
But Blood and Cheese is so much lower risk. I mean, aside from Daemon physically going to King's Landing, like, you're not risking a King's Guard with Blood and Cheese.
don't know. I go back and forth just how important King's Guards are. Like, they're great warriors, don't get me wrong. But in the context of a massive war, I don't
Well,
think they're quite as needed. Though, because this is a story, there are plenty of instances where Kingsguard have, saved the day in one way or another.
yeah, I mean, it's just like the plan ends up going implausibly well. So I'll give that to Cole, I guess. But it shouldn't have gone that well.
I don't know. I think we underestimate the stupidity of, like you said this in the previous episode, never underestimate the laziness of a working man.
That's true. I did say that. But like they know Eric has a twin.
But
This isn't
maybe
this isn't hidden knowledge.
maybe they thought there's no way someone would be stupid enough to send a twin to pretend to be his brother. No way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a chance that it's the type of plan that's so stupid it just might work.
I mean, I'll be honest. For me, maybe it's because, and you might get a kick out of this, maybe it's because this is in the books, but I don't know. I think it doesn't strike me as so stupid it might just work. It strikes me as so crazy it just might work.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
You're not in as much of agreement.
I don't like it. It's too goofy for my taste.
It's too goofy. I don't know.
This actually does seem like something that like a historical account would make up. Like they'd be like, there were two twins on opposite sides of this conflict. What if like they sent one of the twins to try to impersonate the other one? That would be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this like the jester guy, Mushroom. I could see Mushroom having made this up.
No, the crazy thing is, it's not a story just from Mushroom. Like, there are several accounts on it. So we know for a fact that he was sent. How the fight played out depends on who you ask, but he was sent.
Huh. Guess old George is getting a little rusty.
I don't know. I think it's reasonable enough. Now, the next scene, very inconsequential scene, but it's a good thing. Like I said, I like it when we see kind of the characters bounce off of each other a bit more. And we get to see Jace with his wife.
Right, and it's not inconsequential. Like, character development is important. And, well, even not necessarily character development, but just learning about the characters.
Mm-hmm. And real fast, let me look up her name.
Bela.
Bela? Is that... Oh, okay, thank you.
I have subtitles on.
But, it's nice to have the little bit back and forth. And, I was really surprised when she was asking about what his thoughts were on his father. And he's talking about Lenore. And then she just comes out, and what about Harwin Strong? And it's just like, okay, so yeah, they're close enough to where they're open about this. So that's good development.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess... So there's, like, not even a pretense at this point that the kids aren't bastards?
I feel so. Everyone kind of knows, and now it's just like, pick who you want. The weird thing is, he mentions his father's name, Breakbones. Do you know how Harwin got that nickname?
I assume he broke some bones.
Yeah, Kristen Cole beat the fuck out of him.
Really?
Yeah, and it broke like his collarbone or something, and ever since then, people called him Breakbones. So it's not a badass name; it was a mockery.
Oof.
Yeah, so it's weird. Like, it's a nice little nod to the book, but they're nodding to it in the wrong way.
Well, his son might not know that. His son might think it was a cool nickname.
Yeah, but no. Imagine he heard people call him that, and he asked his dad, and his dad was just like, it's 'cause in fights I always break someone's bones or some shit like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and then we get our obligatory whorehouse scene.
Yeah. Of all the scenes in this show, this one I'm the most confused about.
I'm pretty confused.
Right?
I
Like,
was hoping that you could make some sense of this.
uh, no, really
Uh,
don't think I can. He just likes to cuddle with whores.
well, it seems like he's got a kind of weird mommy issues Freudian relationship with this particular whore.
Yeah, there's something along those. Like, it seems like he's not wanting for sex. He's wanting for, like, motherly love.
But he is naked,
He is naked.
and she does try to kiss him.
Yeah.
So I think they've fucked.
To be fair, they are Targaryens. Well, one of them is. But
Do Targaryens get into parent child?
I am not. That's the thing. I'm not aware of any parent-child couplings.
Because I'll be on the record saying incest bad. Parent child is the worst
Worst
form
kind.
though.
It is. I think you and I can agree. It is the worst.
That's
form.
my least favorite incest. If I was making a tier list of incest, that's F tier.
I always make sure to turn off that setting when I'm going through my hentai. But anyways, yeah, it's yeah. But
Yeah, so
historically speaking, in the books, I don't think there's any parent-child. I think it's all uncle, niece, or aunt, nephews, at worst.
glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So yeah, so this I take it isn't in the books at all. He's just got a weird relationship with this whore because she's not just like affirming him what he thinks like you would expect. She like disagrees with him and like tells him he needs to control. She's like actually kind of being motherly.
Mm-hmm. Damn it, Allison! Why didn't you do your fucking job?
Yeah, this is what happens when your mom's off fucking Kingsguards. You gotta go find prostitutes to pretend.
Uh, Now, the next scene, this is also entirely show only, but we get introduced to Hugh again. And we get
I was gonna say I assumed this was not show only because you told me to remember Hugh.
Well, Hugh's an important character, but, you know, think of it this way. A lot of the scenes in the show technically are show only, just because of how broad and historically scoped the books are. So a lot of these more personal moments aren't super common. But they're giving him, like, they're delving more into his backstory. The books, like Hugh and a couple of other characters that we'll be meeting later, is a perfect character for the writers to do almost whatever they want because we know so little about them. We have a couple of actions and a couple of moments here and there, but this is where the writers should be focusing all their freedom, their changes and whatnot. Not with the fucking important characters like these guys. Use these to kind of stretch your muscles. Try to make these guys kind of your favorite character or yours, if that makes sense.
Yeah, race swap these guys all you want.
You can justify these guys is so much easier. Anyways, that too. But, we see he has a very, difficult life. He's trying to make ends meet. His child is sick, and he needs that gold from the king.
Mm-hmm. But he's not gonna get it because the king's too busy hanging rat catchers.
Mm-hmm. But next scene, we're back at, I assume, Driftmark, and we get to see Alan and Adam, I believe their names are.
I think that's correct. And so Alan has black hair.
Yeah, that I noticed that as well. So they're brothers, and I don't want to go too much. I will, like, at the very least, I don't think it's spoiler, but I will say in the books they're Valerian, so they have the pale skin, they have the long white hair, and so it is very interesting that he does not have the white hair. I will say though, it's not that big of a deal.
So yeah, they're talking. He's talking about how he saved what's his name?
Corley's.
Corley's. And this one seems more like it's more of a proper introduction for Adam, I feel like. And then also Alan kind of also getting introduced.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of real important character development here. I guess Alan's good at stew.
Well, we get a little bit. We see that Alan is much more. I think it's fucking hell, these names. The one with hair, he's much more brash, I would say. He's much more ambitious. Whereas the bald brother is much more reserved. Like, he's talking about, like, brother, war's coming. Shit's about to go down. And he's like, it's a great opportunity for us to make a name for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's a good to kind of differentiate them. And then we get Corley's in bed with Rainey's. And not a lot happens here, I feel. Like, it doesn't, I feel like it doesn't develop them a whole lot. I think at most it shows that they're kind of a loving couple, but we kind of already got that from the first season, right?
Yeah, we were pretty aware of their relationship already. They just, it gives, I guess, a decent little review of what everyone's up to.
Yeah, but did I need to know that these two are bumping old uglies?
Yes. I'm pretty sure the answer to that's yes.
Yeah. It's, no. But, anyways, like, the scene's not bad, but I don't care for it that much. I feel like maybe you could have replaced it with something a bit more meaningful.
Yeah, and it does almost feel like a little bit of exposition-y.
I mean,
where they're just kind of like they talk about, well, Damon might try to make a play for the throne and stuff like that, and it's like, I don't know that stuff needs to be spelled out quite this clearly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but anytime I fuck a bitch, the first thing I do after sex is we start talking politics.
Politics is classic pillow talk.
Mm-hmm. So, who you going for in 2024? The orange or the decrepit? Next scene, however, let me see if I can get a refresher of this. Oh, this scene.
Rhaenyra is in her study, in her library, I guess.
Yeah, going through some books. And eventually, it's a Missari who is brought to her.
Which, before we talk about Missari, what books is she going? This doesn't really feel like the time to be reading books. What's she reading books about?
I mean, so I actually didn't read the book, but let me get to it. And then
it just had like a picture of a dragon.
I feel like the first page is probably Aegon and his two wives. I can't say for certain, but that seems to be a strong guess. Despite the great...
King Aegon had already proved himself to be a highly skilled dragon rider.
So it looks like...
So she's reading a history book about Aegon's conquest, I guess.
Yeah, which... I mean, you can learn stuff from history, but there's not a whole lot that you'll be able to learn from Aegon, because Aegon never fought dragons. This is a very, very different situation.
Yeah, and I feel like the time for like reading history books is past. Like, we need to be doing stuff right now. We have not seen Rhaenyra do anything queen-like thus far.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of want to take back my accusations a little bit. I just remembered General Patton apparently made use of Sun Tzu's tactics in World War II. So maybe there is something.
But I don't think that General Patton was like in the middle of battle.
Fair enough.
The art of war.
It might be a little late. But anyways, enough about the books and reading. Missari, somehow, I'm kind of impressed, gets a meeting with the queen?
I think Rhaenyra probably had requested to speak with her. after hearing that she was the one that Damon got the information from.
Mm. Okay, yeah, you're probably right. I think I interpreted it as her wanting, like, asking the guard to take her to the queen so she could be free or something.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I have to assume Rhaenyra wanted to talk to her.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm kind of on Masari's side. Like, Damon and her are both giving her shit, and she's just like, they were going to find the guy anyways. I just profited from it. And she's just like, I regret it now because I didn't realize you two were such dicks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there might not be any point in denying it, but full on admitting to it is also kind of crazy.
I don't know. I think at this point, like they've already kind of cemented what they believe, so you're not going to win any arguments just by denying it.
Yeah, maybe so.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it's a lie. But anyways, Rhaenyra starts questioning her in regards to what was her plot to play in the death of the prince, and she kind of just tells everything that happened. Like, Damon forced me to give him two names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have these two interact. Their relationship in the book, while not is, I don't want to say not substantial, but there is something there between these two in a political sense. Though knowing Hot D, they're probably going to fuck at the end of the season.
I mean, I assumed the end of this episode is the last we were gonna see of whatever her name is.
Oh, you think so?
I was assuming so. She was gonna go get on a boat and sail off across the ocean.
Nah, I feel like that's dumb. I think you're dumb for thinking
Fair
that.
enough. Fair enough. I mean, she does kind of turn around when she sees Eric.
Yeah, that's.
But
is that the next scene?
But I don't think it. I think that's a little bit further on because Eric is the end of the episode. But
Eric should be the end of the episode.
But she never I was expecting her to sneak around ahead of him and warn somebody, but that just never becomes a thing.
I think it's supposed to be implied, but we'll tackle that later. But anyways, overall, this scene, little bit of a back and forth, nothing too crazy. I think it's better than, for example, the Corlys and Rainey scene, just because it's two new characters establishing kind of that connection. So I think this was pretty good.
Yeah, well, and Rhaenyra needed to learn some of that information, I think.
Was there anything super critical? I mean, I feel like everything she sold, like Rhaena was kind of just confirming her suspicions.
Yeah, maybe so. But I feel like Rhaenyra needed to confirm those suspicions. Mm-hmm. And I prefer to be shown it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shown instead of told, even though kind of told us. But anyways, good stuff there. The next one, we could probably skip it and no one would care, but we have Alan picking up seashells, and then he sees a dragon.
True. So true.
Yeah. I have no idea what that could mean.
I was expecting the dragon to land on the beach and him to go up and talk to him or something. I don't know.
Just a fucking toothless situation. Holds his hand out.
Oh, is that... So that's just a wild dragon?
I don't know what dragon that is.
Fair enough. And then we're back at King's Landing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
Quite suddenly. And I think, that's the thing. A lot of the green stuff is really good this episode, aside from Cole. But, a lot of it is really good. There's this random schmuck who, steals an apple. And then this woman is going towards where all the rat catchers were hanging and ready to bawl. Because I think her son was just killed. Sad, sad things.
Yeah. Her son do be dangling.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but I feel like it felt a little clunky to have the stranger ask the woman, another woman, who are these guys? What did they do? I don't know if we needed that. I think just seeing the townspeople looking at the corpse and crying.
Yeah, especially the way then because yeah, you show the people crying, and then you pan to Cheese's face,
Yeah,
and then you have the scene where Otto storms in, and that's where you like, if you hadn't figured it out already, that pretty much confirms that they're all the rat catchers.
yeah. Uh, and so happy to see. Like, I don't care if the dog's sad. I am very happy to see Cheese dead as well. He that as far as like differences from the book, we like it's confirmed that blood is found and captured in a similar way to how it is in the show. Cheese is never confirmed. Aegon does like hang all the rat catchers, but we don't know if it got Cheese or not, or if he got away. So this pretty much confirms that yep, Cheese is dead.
Yeah, I think Aegon's gonna really regret killing Cheese. That was the best damn rat catcher this castle had ever seen.
Uh, but then we have Otto busting into the scene, and this is kind of interesting. We don't know a whole lot about the response that people had to the rat catchers dying, as far as like the people in general. But I like this addition, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, dude, you just hung all those people. Like, all of them were innocent except one. People are going to hate that shit.
And, I just had this thought. Seems like you could do a classic lineup situation. Pick him out of a lineup. Blood, there's no way Blood was going to lie. He was fucking giving it all up. I mean, I guess the implication might be that Aegon killed him before he could have done a lineup.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay,
yeah.
And again, maybe like both of these kind of choices, like they're dumb choices, but they are choices that you can understand the character making.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. And you can understand Otto blowing up at Aegon. And you can even say, like, it's kind of dumb for Otto to be shouting and treating Aegon like this, considering the actual power dynamic. He's underestimating kind of the power Aegon has because it's his grandson.
There's elements of that, but this is also, I think, the scene that puts me into Otto was acting strong to try and be a rock for people to anchor off of, because I think he's legitimately upset at the death of innocence here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an element in why he's blowing up.
I think so too. But I don't know if I thought about it that much, but like I never thought that Otto was a needlessly cruel guy. I thought he was like Diet Tywin. Tywin would do some fucked up shit. Otto has done some fucked up shit. But Otto definitely comes off as a much more, I don't want to say human per se, but empathetic individual.
Yeah, I think Otto, he's very pragmatic, but I don't think I think he's probably often disgusted with the decisions he has to make. That kind of character.
Yeah. And like, for example, I think, and I don't think it really showed that often, but like when it came onto the topic, like he was definitely in favor of killing Rhaenyra and her family as soon as possible. So that way shit didn't happen. But I think pragmatically speaking, I do think Otto, that is the correct choice.
Yeah, for sure.
Not morally speaking, but definitely if you're wanting to do what's best for your side to make sure that those who you are with come out ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just got to the part where Otto's reacting to Aegon saying Kristen Cole has acted. The look on his face. He's like, what dumbass plan have these motherfuckers concocted?
And he calls it a prank.
Yeah. And I'm with him. Like, this is a preposterous plan. This is something a 12-year-old who plays Among Us would come up with. This is not a legitimate assassination.
I still defend it slightly. I think it's crazy enough that it could work, not dumb enough, but I think there was a chance. And he got close. Fair enough. He got close.
He got close, but I think that is an implausible outcome.
But I think this is probably one of the best scenes that I think it's Chris Evans, who's the actor for Otto, good old Voldemort, Voldy boy, and he's just knocking it out of the park in this moment.
For sure. Yeah, I love every moment of it.
So good. So good.
When he brings up Viserys, and you can see how much love he had for Viserys.
You think Viserys actually wanted you?
Oh,
Dude.
a dagger straight to the heart with that one.
And Aegon said he made him king, and Otto just laughs. Is that what you think?
Yeah.
And he's ready to just go. But then, and it shouldn't be too surprising, Aegon ain't a fan of that shit. And then
Yeah.
when he says to remove the badge, Otto's like head dips, and I think he tries to put up like a bit of a strong face, or maybe he really thinks that, or maybe he's like, Aegon, you're not stupid enough to do this, but he's just like, you wouldn't dare.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Otto's concerned, and I think as far as I'm concerned, he's like the one consistently competent and intelligent person in the council, except for maybe Jasper. We don't hear much from Jasper, but he hasn't said anything stupid yet.
Every time he spits, it's just facts.
It's just facts coming out of Jasper's mouth. But like Otto's the one person kind of keeping the council sane. And so it's like if you remove me as hand of the king, it's tits up from here. We're going to hell in a handbasket.
And so now, what are your thoughts about him naming Kristen Cole as the Hand of the King?
It's insane. That's an insane thing. It seems like a bad idea to have one person be both Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and Hand of the King at all. Like that's just too much responsibility in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, Kristen Cole was an incompetent Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. So I don't know why we would expect him to be able to do that as well as be Hand of the King.
Yeah, it's definitely an odd thing with the show's continuity. It's only better in the books because you don't know the finer details of it all.
Well, I think it makes sense in the scene. I think Aemon just being like I don't know, Cole's doing stuff. Cole's getting up to some usefulness. I'll just give it to him. I think I can believe that.
I don't know. I think Jasper should probably have been made Hand of the King instead.
I don't know that we've heard enough from Jasper. He's had like 2 lines.
Listen. Maybe. But
I was kind of expecting him to give it to Gimp Boy.
Larry's?
That's what I was expecting.
Maybe.
Because we had the scene where Larry's was telling him that he should remove Otto as Hand of the King, kind of sowing the seed that led to this.
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting. Honestly.
So yeah, I thought that that's where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm. And next scene we get Rhaenyra with Missari or whatever the fuck her name is, and be like, yeah, sure, you can leave. And so she's escorted out of the castle. She's on her way, and as she's walking down, a group of people pass by. One of them clearly standing out. Like that's where it gets a little bit too goofy for me. Like you have Eric just walking in his full Kingsguard outfit. I kind of expected him to be like a little better disguised. And then, like, as he kind of gets closer to the castle or something, revealing himself.
Well, how would he be disguised? But then he needs his Kingsguard armor to play his brother.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying get rid of the Kingsguard armor and whatnot. I'm saying, like, pull a Daemon, put on a crime hoodie, kind of blend in with, like, the riffraff and whatnot, and maybe find a more, I don't know, opportune situation where you could sneak in.
I think it would still be obvious he's wearing like bulky armor under his crime hoodie, and then that would make him a suspicious character dressed up in armor, which I mean, do they have guards down at the docks? I would assume they would have guards down at the docks, and the guard would see him pull up on the boat, and the guard would be like, What the fuck? You're
But,
supposed to be in the castle.
yeah.
There's no way you're on a boat. And then I don't think he would get away with it, and I think he would get busted.
Well, that's the thing. That's where, like, even though we disagree on like the likelihood of this succeeding, I think that you are right that there would be guards likely at the dock, kind of vetting through people. And if Eric shows up, or Eric shows up like this, like, I think it's one thing to be like, I thought you were in the castle. Just like, I'm patrolling, be more vigilant. It's another when he comes the fuck onto the island.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
So give him a crime hoodie.
but the crime hoodie wouldn't do it. That's not
It works
enough.
great for Damon.
Damon wasn't wearing Kingsguard armor underneath.
But
And Damon also didn't interact with people who knew him. He only interacted with Blood and Cheese.
Blood knew him.
Right, but Blood wasn't out to get him. Blood was on his side.
But with that, but obviously they have it like that, so that way we, the audience, notice, and Misari notices it as well. And they hint that she's going to do something. And I thought the thing that she would do, like they would show, like she runs up and starts like telling the guards, and maybe they like brush her off and don't believe her. But then by happenstance, Eric shows up, and she tells him what she saw, and that's when he bolts towards Rhaenyra to do his duty. That's kind of how I thought it would go down. But no, like maybe it's somewhat implied, but it's not shown that she does anything, right?
No, they don't show her do anything.
Yeah. We eventually see Eric just kind of walking around, sneaky. He's a sneaky beaky. Plan's going great. It's a beautiful plan. Perfect plan. No way this could fail.
Which, he's wearing a helmet, and Eric does not seem to wear a helmet. I guess we have to assume that Eric does sometimes wear a helmet. Like he has a helmet to wear.
Yeah, I mean the Kingsguard supposed like if your job is to fight, you want a helmet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we never see them wearing helmets out, like, while patrolling the castle or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's because they're
So-
actors. We need to see their faces. DJ, I'll censor that. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. So, I don't know. The helmet thing is weird because who knows? I guess it's hard to tell when people just aren't wearing helmets because they have a FaceTime in their contract, and when people aren't wearing helmets because they wouldn't be wearing a helmet in that situation.
Yeah, but I think in a way it's supposed to like make sure that we, the audience, kind of tell the difference between them, which I don't think the audience needs. And it's really weird how he sees his brother. He but his brother doesn't see him, so he got off really fucking lucky there.
Oh yeah.
And then he decides to take his helmet off. And it's just like, eh.
Yeah, and the way he avoids getting seen by his brother is pretty
Cartoony.
pretty weird. Cause yeah, he like peeks around the corner, doesn't see anyone, steps out as his brother comes around the corner, and then dodges behind a pillar. I mean, I feel like his brother for sure spots him there.
You could maybe make the argument that maybe his brother thought it was another member of the Kingsguard.
But then wouldn't he expect to see that member of the Kingsguard come around the other side of the pillar? Wouldn't he be a little bit... I mean, I guess his brother does then kind of look back. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell
But-
without knowing the exact kind of geography of the castle.
Yeah. So yeah, then he takes off his helmet.
And eventually he makes it to Rhaenyra's room, where he pretty much just takes over for the other Kingsguard member. Which, fair enough. Okay, this is where I think at this... no, because then there's still issues. He then enters it, draws his sword, and he's about to kill her. He's taking his sweet-ass time, by the way.
For sure.
But then his brother breaks in. And so, how did the brother figure it out?
It's not explained.
At
Nobody
all.
knows. I guess it's just a twin thing.
Just like, oh man, I feel a disturbance.
Yeah, the psychic twin connection tipped him off.
You know what?
And that's the final nail in the coffin of this plan. The psychic twin connection was destined to make it fail.
Shit, you're right. I completely neglected the psychic twin connection. It was
Yeah,
doomed from the very beginning. It was just stupid.
exactly.
It wasn't crazy.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Some sense has been brought into the conversation finally.
Uh, Now, obviously, they fight. Um, I don't have any big criticisms as far as the choreography of the fight. It's typical Hollywood stuff, big wide swings that are aimed more so at the weapon than the person, because obviously they don't want to hurt each other. This is they're real people. Wait, hold on. Isn't the act like are is the actor twins, or is it one guy playing both roles?
I have no clue.
Let me look
That's
that up.
very good. That's a very good question.
Cuz
If it's one guy playing both roles, this is impressive.
mhm. I think it's one guy playing both roles just because the Lannister twins are played by one actor.
But the Lannister twins haven't had a sword duel.
You are right. So Eric and Eric. So let me see. So Eric with an A is played by Luke Titanos. Luke. The actor's name is Luke.
Luke Tit.
And Eric is played by Elliot. Oh, so I think it's two twins.
That makes sense. I like if you know that they're going to have a scene where they fight. Well, and this isn't even the first time they fight, right? They fought in season 1, didn't they?
No. One of them fought Kristen, and the other just watched.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess if you know they're going to fight, it's probably way easier to find some twins to play them than to try and CGI a duel with one guy.
Ugh, I can see why they had them grow a beard. They do not have good chins.
Weak chins.
Weak chins.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, but
The
all right, but okay, so that's kind of cool. But I will say, I mean, I've always felt that as twins get older, it's usually a lot easier to tell the difference between them. And sure, costuming and changing and stuff that has an effect. But these guys, they look the same.
yeah, I mean, unless something, if you live similar lives, and I think most twins, at least, are capable of living similar lives, then there's not much that's going to change you.
Well, I mean, the biggest example I have in my life is Dylan and Cole Sprouse. As they got older, they definitely started to look very different.
That's true.
Anyways, so the fight breaks out. They go back and forth. It's pretty crazy. Now, what are your thoughts on? I don't know. When I first watched this, a part of me felt it was a little too convenient for Rhaenyra to lose track of who's who.
I could see it happening in the panic of it all,
Yeah,
but I think when what's his face asks which is which, she should have been like, "Our Eric has the leg wound."
ooh,
That's a defining thing that happens where you can tell the difference between the two.
mm. So that's a good point. Also, I would feel like as this guy is saying all this shit while choking out his brother, I'd be pretty confident. Oh no, that's the bad Eric.
I don't know. I was a little confused during the choking until I saw him jab his fingers into the wounded leg, and I was like, "Oh, okay." The wounded leg is the only way I was telling them apart, to be honest.
Yeah, so the wounded legged Eric was the green Eric.
No, the wounded leg Eric was the black Eric. Oh
The-
wait,
You
but the
know
one,
what? With our conversation, maybe it's justified now.
yeah, I think it's a very easy thing to get mixed up because the Eric, the black Eric got injured defending, like he was standing in front of Rhaenyra when he got cut in the leg. Yeah, and then the other one chases after her.
Yeah, also it's very handy that once his brother broke through and made his like presence known, he didn't just immediately run at Rhaenyra and cut her down.
Yeah, he did hesitate.
Mm-hmm. But then, like, presumably Black Eric wins. I'm pretty confident it's Black Eric, and he kills himself.
Well, now I'm not sure. Because the Eric that wins at the end, I don't see an obvious
I think
wound on his leg.
I think he says my princess. Or my queen. Hold on, what does he say? Your grace. That's not a strong tell. Ooh. Hold on. Now we gotta figure this out.
He doesn't have a wound on his leg, I don't think. I mean, there's a little bit of blood.
It doesn't help that every time I move the mouse cursor, it gets really dark. And remember, I was bitching about that before we started, and now it's an even bigger problem here in a dark room.
It is a problem. Damn you, Max.
All right, hold on. So he's saying, I have no choice. Brother breaks in. He points his sword at him. Go. Do it. Go kill her. Now. No. Now. How about now? He's still far away. Come on. Why are you slowly turning to give him the perfect position to
Okay, so the one choking is the good one. The one choking is the good one.
All right. So.
And then he gets knocked off and he's crawling for the sword. He grabs the sword, turns around, and he goes to slash and he gets stabbed. I think the freaking green Eric won. Which makes him killing himself a little bit more confusing.
Oh, obviously killing himself just because of the guilt of losing his brother. Being the one to kill him.
Yeah, and I guess he was never really that on board with being an assassin to begin with.
So you're right.
You're right. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you're right, because after Eric gets his injury, the green Eric tries to kill Rhaenyra. He stops him. And then he takes advantage. He's on top now. He kicks the leg. Oh no, but then you got that judo shit. He's crawling away. He gets back up. Okay, now they're both up. So wait, I noticed one of them has a scar over their eye. Is there any moment we can use to have that tell us who's who?
I'm pretty positive Green Eric won.
Maybe I should put it in the polls. Who do you think won?
I'm pretty positive it's Green Eric. Which, the only reason I'm not confident is just because it seems so weird to have Green Eric win and then kill himself after saying "forgive me."
Yeah, the reason why I thought the one choking him was the Green Eric was because he's it feels like the Green would be more spiteful towards his brother for leaving King's Landing rather than them both staying, you know?
What does he say?
All right, so anyway,
we were both born together, you parted us. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much because they're both dead now.
Yeah, you're right. But anyway, I guess since now you and I are confused, I will say it's hard to tell because of it jumping back and forth, I feel. But anyways, maybe a longer cut, less cuts would have been better. But overall, I think this was handled particularly well once we get to the actual fight.
Yeah, well, and I think it's supposed to be confusing.
There might be some justification to that.
Yeah.
On my free time, though, I'm going to have to... Maybe some other fucking YouTuber will actually put in the effort. But you might be right. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive I'm right. But then the next scene is Otto and Alicent.
Yep. And Otto's pissed. He's just like, those two idiots.
Yeah. Yeah, now he's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
He is young and unschooled. But now, there's this scene where a pretty big name is dropped. Do you remember what that is?
A big name. Tyrell?
No, not the Tyrells. Darren.
Oh, Darren. that's a big name.
Yes, because
Because
it's what we talked about him in the first episode. It's Allison's other son.
he's right, right. Did we? Did Okay, so when they bring it up in this episode, in my head, my brain was like, "Oh yeah, Darren's over in Old Town."
Yeah, he's
Like my brain for some reason thought that that was just something we knew from like season 1.
no, and you have a son there who will be take more kindly to my instructions, Darren, and then he names Darren. May yet help us in weeks to come. Yet, first off, may yet help us. He's a dragon rider. He has. You need him. That's the thing that's so frustrating. Like honestly, I don't know what's worse. That it took them this long to even say his name, or that they didn't fully cut him. Because now it feels like we get the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, but now I'm thinking about it. Did they not mention Darren in season 1?
They did not mention Darren in season 1.
You say so.
I'm pretty
I
confident.
felt like we knew that one of Allison's children was in charge of Old Town.
I know I told you that.
You definitely maybe I got psyoped. Maybe you psyoped me.
But yeah, I don't think there was any lip service to him at all in the first season.
That's possible.
They didn't say anything that would say he doesn't exist, but the fact that no one ever mentioned him was off.
One thing I do with Game of Thrones stories, with stories like this, is when there's so many different characters in so many different places, if they mention a character who I don't really know is in a place, I just go, oh yeah, that character's there. That's the thing.
Yeah, he's important.
Like I just accept it. So that might have been what happened there.
But yeah, so that's a big bomb to drop, and I'm conflicted. A part of me is happy that Darren is here, but at the same time, if he was always going to be here, the fuck wasn't there any name drops? I don't need him to have a scene. I understand why he hasn't been in the show, but there needed to be more talks and mentions about him. You know what would have been perfect?
Yeah. How old is he supposed to be?
So
Isn't he a little kid?
So he would be the youngest. I believe he
Okay.
would be like 16?
So maybe it's like Rhaenyra's 16?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought freaking Aemond was basically 16. Well, I guess she must have had to pump them all out pretty quick. Cersei's pretty old.
Remember, Aemond, we looked it up. He's 19, 18, around that range.
That's true, but I
And-
saw a commenter who disagreed.
Yeah, he was retarded. He doesn't know how to fucking Google shit. But anyways, Darren is 4 years younger than Aemond. So he would be, 14 or 15.
14 or 15. Okay, so still, by Game of Thrones standards, an adult.
Yeah, or just about. I think like the legal age to be an adult in King's Landing or like Westeros and take over is like 16 when you come of age.
Yeah.
I think he's the same age as Jacaerys. Yeah, he's the same age as Jacaerys.
Okay.
So they're probably going to get an actor who's like 26 to play him.
Yeah. It sounds like they need to have like a 35-year-old play him.
But anyways,
I don't really think anyone under the age of 45 could really
pull it
capture
off.
the maturity of a 15-year-old.
But so
yeah.
that's some big
So
information.
the reason I asked is because if he's 15, he's not just a little kid with a little baby dragon. He's like, yeah, kind of important.
Yeah, he's a player. He's an important, integral part. He does shit.
You think they're gonna not make him a dragon rider?
That's so stupid.
It would be pretty stupid.
There's no justification. I will send a very strongly worded letter to the writers if they do that.
I've got a idea.
Oh.
I bet they're cutting dragon riders to save on the CGI budget.
That's fair enough, but if that's the case, just remove the character in its entirety.
Well, but maybe they still need a character that connects, that gives them like a. Actually, I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, just cut the character. That
Yeah.
would make sense.
But because of this name drop, though, I was actually working on a script for another character, a character named Nettle. And I made a post a long time ago because there were rumors that Nettle had been cut. And I said, there's no fucking way they're going to cut Nettle. She's like the most important black character in the books. No, they're not going to do it. They would never do that. But then, like, it seemed to be more and more likely that they would cut her just because we haven't seen anything. And some characters that are kind of related to her are being shown. So, but now with Darren just dropped, it's very possible she'll just spring the fuck out of nowhere in an episode.
Which, if this was like a story that they were just having to make up on the fly, would be understandable. But they have all the source material. They already know what all the characters they're going to have to work with are.
Mm-hmm.
So to just be dropping names out of nowhere of people who have been around for 15 years is insanity.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm critical on that. It's nice that he gets the name dropped though. And overall, I feel like this scene is more so like, epilogue. It's telling us what Otto's plans are and how Allison plans to continue on in King's Landing. A bit of a back and forth. It's a good scene, but it's adequate. It doesn't have like any of the real like banger moments that previous scenes have had so far.
I felt like there's one line. Oh, when Allison tells Otto that she has sinned, and he's like, "Don't tell me about that." That part's pretty good. What's his exact line?
I do not wish
to hear of it. Oh yeah, I love Otto in this episode. He's great.
Just like, bitch.
I'm sad that we're probably not going to be seeing as much of him once he goes off to the Tyrells.
We'll see. I can't comment too much on it, but
I mean, I don't think he's going to be like completely gone, but
I mean,
I wouldn't expect him to if he's not like in the castle doing castle things.
Yeah, but then, and I'm conflicted about this scene. Like I think it's more so how the episode ends, why I don't like it so much. But she comes across Aegon, Alicent, after her talk with Otto.
And we get a perfect example of why Aemond is having to go to friggin' prostitutes for motherly love.
Yeah, because she is such a garbage mom. Like, come on. You were supposed to be, like, the mom that would always be there for them, while Viserys was the absentee father. Now you're both just fucking off. Just, ugh. But I think I could, like, somewhat understand it. It doesn't feel that bad. No, it's pretty bad. Let me retract that. It's pretty bad.
It feels pretty bad. I feel like as a mom, if you see your son who just lost his son crying, you should like go give him a hug.
But do you know?
She doesn't need to say anything.
But do you know what makes it worse?
What makes it worse?
How we end this fucking episode.
Oh yeah, that makes it a little bit worse.
A little bit. It comes off as the reason she doesn't console Aegon is she wants Kristen Cole to sheath his sword into her.
No, that's not how I took this. She didn't think Cole was going to be in her room.
Maybe, but
for sure. She didn't think, because she walks into the room, and then it pans to show Cole, and then it shows her like see him, and then she stops what she's doing to go slap him.
Oh, God, like even if you're right, it's still garbage.
It's still bad, but it's not her leaving her kid crying to go fuck bad. And then it's like, Cole, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Remember what happened last time you did this? A child died.
You have never had anything good come of fucking anybody. Stop, dude. So, just go celibate.
But at least, listen to your fucking vows. Bitches aren't worth it.
Yeah. God damn it, Cole.
Well.
God, Cole is my least favorite character. I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah, and not in a good way.
Which I thought when he first got introduced in season 1, I thought he was going to be a cool dude. I thought Cole was going to be one of the boys. He's not one of the boys.
I think
I hate him.
I think Cole was acceptable in the first season. I know like a lot of Team Green fans and whatnot are very negative towards Cole and very negative towards Alicent. Even in the first season, I had my issues with them, but I was just like, it's not that bad. These two episodes, though, are incredibly damaging to Alicent and Kristen Cole for me.
Yeah, they're just so unlikable.
Mm-hmm. It's just like...
And like Alicent, not as much for me, just because I guess her character at this point is just like easily manipulated and like she just kind of does whatever the man that's next to her tells her to do. That's kind of her character. But like Cole is just like such a stupid asshole.
Yeah.
Like that's his whole character, is just being a stupid asshole.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is probably more damaging to Kristen than Alicent, because I think Alicent, I was really annoyed with her like by episode 9 roughly, and it hasn't changed a whole lot. It's just gone down steadily. With Kristen, I think I was mostly okay with him, and now it's dropping faster.
You remember when Cole murdered a man at a wedding in front of everybody, and then nothing came of that?
That's one of the scenes that I choose to forget about.
You only got one, remember? You only get to get one thing.
Fuck! Do I keep Aegon's rape, or do I keep Kristen's... You know what? Since I'm going to hate Kristen either way, I'll get rid of Aegon's rape.
Yeah, unfortunately, I remember everything. I hate season 1. The more, like, it sullies every good thing that happens. Every good thing that happens, I remember that there's some stupid shit that's just like gnawing at the back of my mind.
Yeah, like there's some greatness in this episode. Like I think our opinions have decreased as we've talked about it, but
I still think the majority of the episode is really good.
Yeah, but most of our issues stem from shit that's happened in the past rather than this episode itself.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the episode itself is solid. It's just you can't fix all the damage that's been done in one episode.
Mm-hmm.
One good episode doesn't fix the series.
So now, I want to kind of ask you this. Even though we've kind of like hashed it out about the issues with it, I honestly think this might be one of the best episodes the show has produced. I want to put it like at number 2. What are your thoughts on that?
It's hard for me to say because at this point, season 1, I don't remember it as distinct episodes so much as I remember like individual scenes.
As a whole?
Right. So it's hard for me to say where this compares to all the episodes in season 1, but I would definitely say it's going to be at the higher end. It's one of the better episodes in the show so far.
I think so too. I really enjoyed it. The only episode that I think was better than it as of this moment was the episode where Viserys gets out of bed and he's sickly and he protects his family, and then they have the feast, even though it ends with that stupid prophecy misunderstanding bullshit. I think that's probably the best episode this season has churned out.
Yeah, when I think back to season 1 and I try to like remember what my favorite thing was from it, it's just Viserys scene. I'm just remembering every scene with Viserys in it.
You're not alone with that. You're not alone with that.
Like I remember like the episode where he's standing in front of the bonfire. That scene was so good. Oh,
he's drunk and depressed. God,
yeah, he plays being drunk so well.
God, I think there's like a frustration here. You see real, legitimate, great stuff.
Well, I feel like the characters for the most part are really good, and the actors are fantastic. So there's a lot of talent in the show, but there's just so many wacky. I don't necessarily want to say there's so many plot holes, although it's a fair share of plot holes, but just like wacky contrivances.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I posted I believe it's it might be my most disliked. It might not be my most disliked anymore. People did not like my opinions on Blood and Cheese in my difference video, but I remember I remember getting a comment that says you're calling this show terrible, even though it has amazing as I said in the video, it has amazing actors, it has amazing sets, costumes, direction, all that stuff. And the answer is yes, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the writing. It is why you are able to craft an amazing story. Because through a book does not have
Right.
direction.
Exactly.
It does not have
that's what I was
actors.
gonna say.
The writing is always going to be the most important thing. That isn't to diminish the other things, but it's always going to be the most important thing.
Right, and it's like you can the other things can be great, but if the writing, if that foundation is sand, then the whole thing comes crumbling down.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter how pretty you are, if you're stupid, can't get that far in life. No, that's a bad example. I'm sorry. We'll just stick with yours.
Yeah, when you go back to Jesus's analogies, things hold up pretty well.
Man, should probably listen to that guy more often.
Yeah, he had a couple good ideas.
Maybe I can find a podcast on him. But with that, I think we hashed it out pretty well. I think we were pretty clear on our thoughts on the scenes and the episode as a whole. So I think I'm ready to call it here. Any last minute things that you might want to expand on?
No, I think we touched on all the major points.
Alrighty. Well, in that case, thank you so much, DJ Fella, for having this discussion with me. You always bring a very well thought out point that I hadn't considered one way or another. And to the rest of the audience, thank you for finishing and stay safe.